Hey everybody, welcome back to another Timer Tip Tuesday. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We are covering aggregate team scoring today, some updates as well as some best practices. It's been a little while since we've done a review of aggregate team scoring, and it is one of our more complicated features that are out there with some good best practices that you should be aware of if if you're using this frequently. So we're going to get started. Again, usually just want to wait a few minutes for people to show up. If you're on the line, we are new to GoToWebinar. There is a questions panel. You can use it to ask us any questions that you may have as this session is ongoing. And I got Soren and James in the back end to help answer those questions and bring them up if they are pretty important for everyone to know the answer to. As always, this will be recorded and will be put on our YouTube channel after the fact, where you can find a whole ton of other videos that may be interesting and useful to you. It looks like some people have started arriving, so let's go ahead and get started. Thanks again, everyone. Today we're going to be covering aggregate team scoring for race day scoring, specifically a couple of new features that we added and some best practices that you should know about for this feature. So let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about just a basic introduction and overview of what aggregate team scoring is to kind of set the stage. And then we're going to go through our new features that are helping by simplifying the team scoring workflow, especially for results publishing with RunSignup. So we've made some changes here that everyone who uses this feature should know about because it will change your standard workflow for setting up team scoring when you're using online results. And then we're going to talk about a new feature, custom point tables for aggregate team scoring. And then we're going to just do some general best practices for aggregate team scoring, and then a short Q&A. So let's jump in. So to start, many of you are already probably aware of this, but aggregate team scoring is a type of team scoring. There are two types of team scoring in race day scoring, aggregate and relay. So relay is where everyone is doing a portion of the entire race. So someone does the first leg, another person does the second leg, a third person does the third leg. Aggregate team scoring is where each member completes the entire distance. Think about cross country or corporate cup races where everyone's doing a 5K and then we're aggregating or adding up some data across all the members or some subset of the members to produce a team point or total time or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways you can do team scoring, especially aggregate team scoring. But basically, when you think about the difference between aggregate and relay, think about is each member doing the whole distance or is each member doing a portion of the distance? And that should guide you in the right direction in terms of which option you're using. So for aggregate, each member of the team earns a point value or a time value for some of these methods. And then the top X team members' points or times are added up where X is the scoring depth. So you may say, I want to score through 5 members, and then it will add up either the points or the time for the first 5 members of each team to produce the team's total. So again, there's different ways you can do it. You can say I want to score by fastest total time. You can score by average time. You can score by overall place. You can score by age group place, age grade place, all sorts of different stuff. Basically, the idea is the team with the lowest total points or times will win. So that's why we have the scoring depth. It's basically a way to say you must have at least 5 members in order to even be considered for team scoring. Otherwise, the team with 1 member would always win. And we'll add up those members' points or times to produce a total for the team, and then we rank all the teams based on that. So that's your general idea of what aggregate team scoring is. So now we're going to jump into some critical settings for team scoring. There are a lot of settings for team scoring, and it can be a little bit overwhelming at first, so I'll give you an overview of which ones are really critical to get right. Number 1, team scoring must be enabled on the scored event setup. We see this a lot in our support cases where someone will say, hey, I set up or they're timing a triathlon relay or something, or they're timing a triathlon and they have a relay scored event and say, hey, my team results don't look right. It's showing all individuals, and it's because they haven't enabled team scoring yet. So if you are doing any kind of team scoring, make sure that you've gone into your scored events and actually set it up. So here we're showing the scored event 5K. There's a green button for team scoring. make sure you click that. And then when you go into there, you'll need to decide what type of team scoring you're going to use first, aggregate or relay. And then if you choose aggregate, it'll show you this screenshot in the bottom right with all of the different options you have available for aggregate team scoring. So now let's go through some of the more important settings. Number one, should you use cross-country scoring or not? This is an important thing to understand. A lot of people think, oh, aggregate team scoring, that's just basically cross-country scoring. And while it's true in the sense that you're doing a point-based system where the lowest point team wins, it's not exactly true. And it's really important you get this right, because true cross-country scoring in our system adds another factor to the standard, show me the best five members of each team or whatever. Because in cross-country scoring, you also have displacement rules. This is where you say, I want to score through 5, but displace through 7, which means that the members of the team between positions 5 and 7 actually count against the other team members. Whereas in standard aggregate, it doesn't matter what happens after position 5. It doesn't impact anyone else's points. So if you are trying to make this decision about whether or not it's cross-country scoring, ask whoever is doing if the race director is organizing the point system, do they want to do displacement rules? If you ask them that and they say, I don't know what you're talking about, you probably don't want to do cross-country scoring. If they do want that, they will know that they want it, and you'll probably actually want to use team score or cross-country scoring. Another thing to consider with cross-country scoring is that if you do cross-country scoring, this disables age group functionality. So most cross-country races, every cross-country race that I'm aware of, does not do age group standings. It's all based on just your overall placement, and they have separate scored events if they need breakdowns. So another thing to consider there. Most of the time for standard aggregate, like your corporate cups, those are not cross-country scoring. They're really just standard aggregate. So that's something to consider. The next thing is whether or not you want to separate report sections by gender. This is only used if males and females within teams need to be split out automatically into separate report sections. So if you have a cross-country race, this is more typical to be used. You'd have one team per school, and then within that school, you want to break out the boys and the girls. So you don't want to do this unless you have a good reason to do so. It basically will automatically apply a filter to each report section that's created, and will break out a boys section and a girls section, or a male and a female section. So don't check this unless you know what you're doing. Next is a very important one, the score teams by. This is how you are going to assign member places or points. So basically, do you want to do points based on overall place, age group place, total time, so on and so forth. You got to pick which one you want. The next one that's really important is the team scoring depth. There are two options here. You can choose first scored event or by team type. And the idea is that there are certain situations where you might need to have different team scoring rules by team type. So team types are like you have Division 1, Division 2, or social and competitive, and you need to say that the competitive ones score through 5, but the social score through 10 or something. That'd be the only time you'd need to consider setting this to by team type. Most of the time, it's by scored event, and what that means is that all the team types that are on this scored event or associated with this scored event are going to get the same scoring rules. Now, you can always go in and adjust and change on the team type level after the fact, but basically you can set it at the scored event level and apply it to all team types by setting this to be by scored event. Once that's set to scored event or team type, you can set the scoring depth below that. That will basically tell the system, hey, I want to require X members to be scored, and it will score through X members. So it does both. It will say, anyone team that does not have at least 5 members are going to show as incomplete. And then also, after 5 members are achieved, it's not going to consider those towards their totals. It's going to be just the top 5. So really good thing to understand there. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the scoring team type scoring rules. So team scoring relies on having teams in at least a single team type. Team types are used in a variety of different ways, but for aggregate teams, they're typically like a category or a division of teams. On the right here, I have Division 1 is my 500 plus teams for a corporate cup. Division 2 is 499 and down. And Division 3 is social teams. So scoring rules can typically, but typically do not vary by team type. So like I was saying before, most of the time you are having your scoring rules set on the scored event. It's my 5K, corporate cup, all the teams are the same. I don't care if they're D1 or D2. The number to score through is the same for all. So most of the time you just select on this next image here where it says apply team type scoring options. You just update team types and it will apply the scoring rules to all the team types associated with this scored event. Now there's little oddities where you may want to use the other options to only apply the scoring rules to types without scoring rules or to make no changes. But most of the time, just click through and select update team types. On the right, you can see where you would go to in the team types area if you wanted to make a change after the fact. You can drill down, like I said, to the team type level and make adjustments just for that team type. But again, most of the time you don't need to do this. So once you've set up team scoring on the scored event, we generate a default report for you that includes all the team types within one report section. This is really important to understand because this might not be what you need. We don't know what people are typically doing or what they always want to do, so we just build a default and expect that you are going to customize that default to suit your needs. So you really got to understand what it's doing and what you want it to do in order to get this right. So like I said, in this example, I had a D1, a D2, and a social. By default, it's going to combine all those together into one big report. Now let's say I want D1s separate from D2s. I would need to break out my reports by team type then. So I got a really nice guide written up for exactly how you can learn how to do this. It's actually linked in the software in this yellow area down here. So you can see it there. And if you ask on the question, Soren's got a link to it, so he can provide that as well if you wanted to take a look at it. But basically, whenever you add a team report section, when using a scored event that has more than one team type associated with it, we're going to prompt you with this message on the right here, and we'll ask you, hey, which team types do you want included in this report section? So make sure you consider what you're doing. And then if you select multiple on the right, it will just combine them all together. So let's say you did want to break out your team types and you don't want one single report with all of them. This would be the process to break it out by team type. So go over to your reports, edit your report. There's a little team type selection. I'm going to show some screenshots in a second if this is a lot of text. Basically, you edit the team type selection, change the team type selection to be the one you want in this report, save it, rename the report to reflect the one team type that you've added. So you could call it 5K, 500 plus teams or whatever. Save the report. And then my pro tip would be just duplicate that report for each other team type you have, and then edit those duplicated reports to use the other team types and change the name of the report to reflect those new team types. So basically, this is the idea. You'd come in, select the finish list report that was created by default, edit, and then in the report section, the first report section, there's a button at the top that will list out all the team types that are included in this report section. So you can change that by clicking it, and then it'll bring up this little dialog here, and you can just say, hey, in this one, I actually only want my 500 plus, and then you'd save it. And then you, like I said, suggested before, you'd want to change the report title to be more reflective of what's actually happening in this report. It's your 500 plus teams only, right? And then once you've got that one report created, you can go to actions and then duplicate, and it will add the exact same report again. And then you can just change out which team type you have selected for this new report and change the name of it and so on and so forth. Now there's other ways of handling this too. You can have one report with multiple team type sections within it. It's just a little bit of a different process, and it depends on what you want. Some people want separate reports by team type. Some people want one report with multiple sections within it. It's kind of up to you and your preference there. So this is the reason why we decided to just make it very simple for the defaults. everything goes into one, and you get to decide how you want it to be broken out, if you even need that. So next, we're going to talk about team standings reports. So we just talked a lot about how you can break out the reports, the default reports that get created for you, but we didn't talk about what report is actually getting created. So this is really important because a part of this has changed recently, and so we'll be talking about in a second. So basically, we generate a finish list style report by default. This is sufficient if you just want to view team standings at RunSignup, but if you want to view team standings within RaceDay scoring as well, you'll want to add some supplemental reports to fit your needs. So what that means, what this is saying is basically the default report, when you set up team scoring for aggregate in RaceDay scoring, it'll look like a standard report kind of. It'll have members listed, like a 5K finish list would. It's not going to list the actual standings of the teams and how they did against each other. So while if you publish that report that we build by default for you, it will have RunSignup generate those team standings online. They won't show up in RaceDay scoring. So if you want to add team reports in RaceDay scoring to show you team 1 was first, team 2 was second, whatever, you'd have to build those manually. So typically I like to add a newspaper style report. Basically has a summary of the top teams at the top, and then below that it'll show a detail section which will list out the members of each team, and they'll be ordered based on how they did. So on the left here is a team summary that would show at the top, and then below that it'll show the team detail. So it'll show all the members within each team based on their position there, along with some more details about the team results. So these are some of the options for you when you actually enable team scoring. So you'll see in the report builder, when you add a report section or when you select a scored event that has aggregate team scoring enabled, you're going to have a bunch of different report presets available to you. So there's the team detail and team summary, and those are only showing because I enabled team scoring on my event. So if you ever find yourself thinking, why don't I see any of the reports that he's talking about here? It's probably because you haven't enabled team scoring on your scored event yet. Okay, so now we're going to dig into some of the new stuff. Number one is we've made things a lot more simple for RunSignup results for aggregate team scoring, and I'm going to explain to you why. Basically, before, with our older system, previously, I think it was about an update or two ago, you would need to set up a new team finisher list report in order for team results tab to show up in RunSignup. So this would be in addition to the standard overall report. So with the older version, basically you'd have an overall section, or sorry, an overall report, and then you have to add a team finisher list report. And the reason it was because the team finisher list report was the one that we needed to send to RunSignup in order for RunSignup to create the team results tab, and it would only include people who were on a team within that report. But you still wanted to show the results for everyone, even if they weren't on a team, because it's a regular old 5K. It's just that some of them happen to be a part of a team, right? So what would happen is you'd have two result sets on RunSignup, one that shows everyone, one that shows just people who are on a team, and it was really confusing for timers and for participants looking at the results. So we changed things up. We changed the defaults for this, and we made the finish list report able to show people who are not on a team within it. So now it's just going to be one report that's created by default. It'll be scored event name finish list, and then you can publish that one report. Both age groups and team results we generated at RunSignup from that single report. So you no longer have to have two reports with two result sets at RunSignup in order for RunSignup to display age groups and team standings. So this will make your life a lot easier if you are doing aggregate team results and using the RunSignup platform. So now you'll see that there's a finish list report set up for you by default. And if you went in and actually edited that report, you would see in the filters and sorts area that there's a new setting to allow unattached participants or unattached runners. We carried this over from our cross-country reports, where it was used for some college meets. They have some unattached runners come up, and it would show them in the reports. So now this is available for non-cross-country races as well. And this setting is on by default. So basically, we'll now be showing all runners in the standard aggregate report that's built for you by default. So it's just good to know that the setting is there. If you ever really wanted to only show team members for some reason, you could uncheck this setting, but it's up to you. So again, this report is going to have an age place column, which is used for RunSignup to generate the divisions, as well as a few important fields to generate the team standings. So there's a team age group place and a team place field. So those will actually show like how their team did. So if I was in the first place team, it would show 1 for my team place, and it'll show the points for the team. In this case, it was team age group that I was basing the scoring on. But basically, those are really critical for the team standings tab to be generated at RunSignup in the same way that the age place field is required in order for RunSignup to generate the divisions. So you want to leave those in. You do not want to delete those or remove them from the default report. You can hide them if you'd like, but you really don't want to delete those fields because they're critical in order for the team tab to show up, and you'll have that nice tab where you can display the summary of team results on RunSignup itself right here. So this is what you would see when you enabled autosaves for this default report that we have now. So before we move on, any questions before we move on to this new feature about team scoring, best practice or general setup, and this new feature?
Just real quick, what would you say is the most efficient way to see if you've already set up team scoring? Would you say reports or on the scored event page?
I would click the button on scored events. It just will pop up, and if it says none, you haven't set it up.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. Next, we're going to talk a bit about custom point tables for aggregate scoring. This is a new feature that I think is pretty neat, and it could be used in a number of different ways. So we'll go through and talk about the 2 different options we have for it, generated points and static point tables. So what are they? Most team scoring methods are going to sort teams based on the lowest number of points. Your cross-country race, you're trying to get the, you're trying to get the most people who are higher up the race list. So you want to get the teams at the top with the lowest points. But in some situations, they want to invert that and say, I want to award teams based on more points. So basically, it's like first place doesn't get 1 point, they get 1,000 points. And then second place gets 999 points or something like that. So this is used in some Nordic ski races, as well as some other creative uses we've seen. And there are 2 main methods that we have built to determine the individual points for each position, generated or static. So basically the way generated tables work is it's a formula. And there's a few different parts of the formula that you need to provide: the start, the subtract, and minimum fields. And basically, start is what should the first person get. So if the first person gets 100 points, enter 100. If it's 1,000, 1,000. Subtract is the amount of points to subtract from the first placement for each position you go through. So if it's something like 1,000 points for first, 999 for the second, 998 for the third, you would have 1 as the subtract value. If it was 1,000 and then 900 and then 800, then 700, it's start 1,000, subtract 100. Minimum determines how many points beyond the final point winner should get. For example, if you wanted to give out 1 point to everyone beyond position 100, set the min to 1. If you want those beyond 100 to not get any points, set it to 0. So this is like your participation point in series scoring, for example, where you would have, even if you showed up, you get 1 point, that kind of idea. And at the bottom is the formula. The idea is, points equals start minus place minus 1 multiplied by subtract. And then your custom point tables for the other option is static tables. So this is where you don't have a really great way to determine this based on a formula. It's not like, okay, the first one is X, the next one is X minus 2, the next one is X minus 4, and so on and so forth. You have a very strange system where you know exactly, position 1 is 1,000, position 2 is 150, position 3 is 3, position 4 is 2. They're completely random, right? So we've given you a few ways to handle this more, case-by-case basis. So you can import a spreadsheet to define a point value for each and every position or placement. And then you can actually also manually add them. So at the bottom, there's a little table, and you can just click plus to add a drop in another placement and fill in things manually. Additionally, once you process a spreadsheet here, you can import it, and it will load in each of the values in this little table. So you could load it in and then make adjustments on the fly. So you don't need to delete it and re-import the whole spreadsheet. You can just load in the spreadsheet to start with, and then if a few need to be changed or whatever, you can actually edit them in the line. So that's the basic idea for this new custom points system. It always is going to rank things based on the highest value, and you can have complete control over what position gets how many points. There's a lot of cool things you could do with this, but yeah, let us know if you're using this, how you're using it, because we're very interested in hearing about people using this feature. Next, we're going to move on to some general best practices. We get a lot of support requests about aggregate team scoring, so I wanted to highlight some of the things that we think are really important. Number one, get team scoring requirements from your race directors or yourself if you're the race director as soon as possible. You got to think about this well in advance because you want to make sure that you can do number two, which is to review the group and team types on RunSignup and registration as soon as possible to ensure that they have them configured as needed. So you don't want to find out, 3 days out from the race that they actually wanted to break out your team scoring by, gender. So you have like all male groups, all female groups, co-ed groups, but they didn't do any of that setup, and you have to go through each and every single team individually and move them around into different team types. That would be a real hassle for you to do the week before. If you catch that earlier on, it's a whole lot less of a problem where you only have a few teams registered. So my recommendation is if you're working with an event year over year, double check that when they're about to renew the race, they're doing things correctly. You really want to work with them tightly because it's critical to get the team type set up correct as early as possible. Next, configure teams scoring first before making any adjustments to reports, fields, or filters. So one thing that you may have noticed when you change team scoring rules, it will delete and re-add all your reports for that scoring for that scored event. This is because a lot happens in the background when you change things with the team scoring, and we cannot reliably update every single associated report. So we have to delete all the ones that have been customized, and we'll regenerate the default ones for you, but any customizations are not going to come along with it. So you really want to make sure that you set up your team scoring first and then do any customizations later. Now, keep in mind, this is like everything else in RaceDay scoring. Once you get it right the first year, all you have to do is renew, and it just works and just stays the same. You don't got to think about it again. But that very first year, you want to make sure you get things right, you get it set up properly from the team scored event level first, and then make any customizations that you may need after that. Next, like we talked about, think about how you want to handle multiple team types. If a race organizer has multiple team types on there, you should probably ask them what's their expectation for them. Do they want separate reports for each and every single team type, or are they all meant to be put together and they were just used for registration split outs for some reason? So have that conversation, figure out how they should be handled, whether they should be combined or separated, so on and so forth. Add supplemental team reports as needed, like the team summary and detail reports. Next, set up autosaves early and confirm that the team result tab is appearing as you'd expect. It's always a good idea to just set this up without results, just create the result sets. There's no harm in setting things up in advance. The results tab will show up and they'll, the result sets will be there for you, but no results are going to go up until you actually publish or start importing results. Next, if you are making changes to reports after you have set up your autosaves, you'll sometimes see a little pop-up that'll say, hey, you've made changes, make sure to update your autosaves. Listen to that message and save your autosaves. Whenever you're changing the structure of your results reports, if there's an associated autosave, you do have to tell that autosave to update RunSignup. And you do that by editing it and saving it. So make sure you do that. If you see that message, just go and save the autosaves again to apply those changes to your result sets. Next, customize your result set names. If you just use the defaults, they're pretty lengthy. So I always recommend updating the result set names. You can do that beforehand if you just update the reports to be a little bit more concise. But you can also do this from the Manage Result Sets area in RaceDay Scoring. In the report section, you can go and you can see a Manage Result Sets area. Click there and you'll see both the individual results and the team results, and you can edit everything you need to about them, including the result set names. So you can customize them to make more sense. Next, consider hiding report fields at RunSignup for those team report columns that are necessary for generating the team standings, but aren't really helpful to participants. Participants may not care to see what their team's placement was. They really may only care about their individual placements on the overall report. So you can consider hiding those on RunSignup results if you'd like to do that. But again, don't remove them from the report. Don't delete the column. Just hide them at RunSignup if you make that decision. And then next, test your reports. This is a really critical thing to know about and understand how to do. And we get a lot of questions and, hey, is everything set up correctly? And we'll say, hey, if you tested your report, have you taken a look to see what it would look like if participants were in there? And they're like, what do you mean? So this is what we always tell people to do. Come into your reports and preview them. Select Edit Report, go to Filters and Sorts, and check all the boxes down here. Show non-starters, show non-finishers, include participants without a bib number, and push non-finishers to the bottom. This will give you a preview of what a report will look like if it had participants in it. Now, the order is going to be completely arbitrary, but at least it'll give you an idea of if you were to have results, here are the people that are going to be in this report. Here are the kind of people that are going to be in there. So especially if you're using filters, this is a really good thing to understand, because then you can check and see, like, oh, if you have a Clydesdale report, you would add in your custom question equals Clydesdale in here, and you would add the column for Clydesdale, Athena in the data, and you would want to preview it so then you could verify, oh, wait, there's someone in here who's showing that did not have that selected. What did I do wrong? And then you can troubleshoot it before race day, because we all know how fun troubleshooting on race day is. Let's do it early. So this is a really good thing to understand, but just make sure that once you've confirmed everything and set up as you want it, uncheck these as needed. I will say one thing to note here is that by default, we always show non-finishers for any scored event that includes multiple segments, because usually people want to see the progress as the race is ongoing. So if you have a marathon, you want to show people as they are crossing through the split points. And in order to do so, you have to have that box checked to show non-finishers. If it's a 5K without any splits, you probably don't want to show non-finishers. You probably just want to uncheck that. But just a good thing to understand why you might want to keep that show non-finishers checked. Next, you can test autosaves. So if you want to plug in some fake times and run them through and see how they go up to RunSignup, you certainly can do so. There's no harm in doing this, but if you are using result notifications with RunSignup, you'll want to be very careful, right? You don't want to send out those notifications early. So if you are testing out autosaves, do make sure that you come in when you set up your autosaves to disable the result notifications, and then uncheck that once you're done with your testing. So we definitely recommend testing, but be careful with it. Make sure that your result notifications are currently disabled. There's also a setting in the back end of RunSignup to do this, but basically this in RaceDay Scoring is controlling that setting. So just be careful if you are deciding to send times up in your tests. I think it's a good idea, but again, just be careful. And then prior to race day, just remember to uncheck this so that results notifications will go back out again on race day, because you definitely want that. I think that's covered everything I wanted to for today. Any other questions before we head out?
Yeah, I've got a couple kind of related questions
Cool.
here. One's from Kent saying, is there a way to add points to a team, like extra credit for a donut run? And then another is from Eric Bauer. Can you get additional custom scoring points for age group or overall winners? So, for example, age group or overall winners get 10 extra points.
No, we can't do anything like that, like trying to do any kind of adjustments on the fly for specific teams. The only point of adjustment we have is each and every position. If you wanted to use the custom point tables method, you could say that 10, like position 10 gets X points, but we can't do this team gets an adjustment on that level.
That's what we've got in the chat right now. Oop. Can USATF from Debbie Burke? Can USATF club team scoring be done here with individuals?
Remind me what that involves.
Uh, I think the answer is no. It's where you have to score the same team based on three different filters.
Yeah,
So short
nothing
answer
has
is no.
changed here. So nothing has
And
changed with
then
that. Yeah.
and then can you show average time for a team in results reports?
Yeah. So there's a way to, um, I guess the question is it on in RunSignup or in RaceDay scoring? In RaceDay scoring, you can. There's a when you set up the team scoring, there's an option to show different fields. You could show total time or average time, and then you can decide, if you wanted to show that or hide that in the team detail reports. And I think you can add it to the team summary reports as well. And then I don't know if it actually shows on RunSignup results. I'd have to play around with it. I don't think it does.
I'm pretty sure you can just add an additional column of that average team average time to your report, and
Okay.
then it'll go up as a custom column for the team finisher.
To the team one as well.
So it will show for the overall listing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then during an event, if you discover you've disabled results notifications and turned them on, will it send a notification to those who were missed, or does it start at the next participant?
No, it starts in the next participant. So be very careful with that. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I think we are good for today. Thanks again for joining us. Again, let us know if you have any questions, if you need any best practices or guidance on any of your events that involve team scoring. Feel free to reach out. More than happy to get ahead of any issues you may run into on race day, because we know this is a little complicated. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.